Hey guys, what's going on? Hi, Grandma. This is Adam Carswell. Today I'm joined by a special guest, Keith Bacote. He had no idea what he was walking into today. Maybe he had a little bit of an idea because he did research, did a little bit of research. But he's just been asking me some great questions about life and business. And I was like, hold on, can we just record these? Because I think they're going to be good answers. I hope so. Here we go.
Yeah.
Oh, and I
How's
guess we'll give a
everybody
little
going
bit.
out
Yeah,
there?
go ahead. Greet everyone. My
How's,
bad.
how's everybody going out there? Hey, mom and dad, just a little impromptu interview. This is interesting because you're usually doing the interviewing, so I interviewing is something I want to do in the future. So this is a good, organic impromptu thing. So I think
The
it's gonna
guy
be
who I
awesome.
just introduced you to, Aaron, I threw him in the fire like this too. So I think you guys will really hit it off now.
Yeah, right. We have that one thing in common.
But let's get it. Bring on the questions.
All right, yeah. So my first question was, I know you started Dream Chasers, your podcast, and creating content about in 2017. So, what are some things you would give? What are some advice you would give new content creators in terms of things to avoid or things you would have did a little bit differently when you first started putting out content?
I think anyone who podcasts has probably heard this narrative before, but when you first launch your show, um, well, to begin with, you actually don't need a whole lot. You don't even really need, for example, a microphone. Obviously, it's helpful to get one. I have a Blue Yeti. I think it was less than 150 bucks on Amazon, and you could still get a nice one on Amazon for like 30 bucks. Next, if you look at this setup here too, and I know it might look like I'm in a nice studio or whatever, but really it's just a green screen and a couple lights. It goes a long way from a professional standpoint, and it makes a very powerful impact when you enter into an interview or a Zoom room. I think I got the green screen for like 30 bucks, and the lights are a little bit more expensive, anywhere between 30 to 100. So just keep in mind though, you honestly, to get started, you don't need any of this. You just have to have the confidence to press record and go after it. So honestly, that would be my advice: is if you feel like you don't have capital set aside to get started podcasting, you really don't need it. Um, there's a few more things looking back on it that I wish I would have done differently still. I used to use the hosting platform Anchor. I now use Buzzsprout, and I pay a monthly fee to be on Buzzsprout. With Anchor, it's great because it's free. You can get on Anchor.fm. You can upload there and get onto pretty much any podcasting platform within a matter of weeks. But the thing there is, to be honest, I just wasn't too happy with the customer service. I've gotten a lot better out of Buzzsprout, and I think it's probably because I'm paying them. Anchor was free. Another thing too, again, it all comes down to how much you have kind of saved up to get started. If you don't have anything saved up to get started, no worries. And I'm just saying that because I'm speaking to likely, I think the audience, the demographic here, Keith, is like anywhere between the age of like 20 and 26. I know for me, like I probably didn't feel like I had, an extra 300 to 500 bucks to do it. So you just press record and just do it. But if you do have some, go ahead and buy yourself a domain. Do some YouTube research on how to build out a podcast website. You'd be surprised how much you can learn from YouTube University. If you can't afford to go get a graphic designer or someone to set up a podcast website, do it. And I say that because this is a little unknown fact, and I think we've crossed the bridge now and moved on to the next chapter. As I mentioned, I used to use Anchor, and I now use Buzzsprout. And Anchor is a great platform, but I love music, and I had a handful of episodes that I was producing where I was using music that I guess you could say like was copyrighted content or whatever. And as someone who's been using YouTube like as long as I can remember, anytime you upload a song onto YouTube that's not, for example, yours, you'll get a little email from YouTube saying like, hey, just this isn't yours, but like everything's cool. So with my podcast with Dream Chasers, for the first, I don't even know how many years, I might have released like 3 or 4 episodes that were like me DJing with music that I had just in my library. And long story short, my account got locked up because I was using music that wasn't mine. And I didn't I thought I was doing everything right, and still a little bit salty about it because it's like, why can't you just take the episodes that had the music instead of like the whole show? So anyways, went through a goofy funk there with Anchor, who happens to be owned by Spotify. And you'll see actually, if you kind of go through any recent news, there's been a huge crackdown on copyrighted content on behalf of artists. And I had to live through that. And thank God, the reason why I say you got to get a website is thank God for my mentor, Michael Flight, who was like telling me probably earlier in 2020, like, Adam, I still didn't have an actual website for Dream Chasers. And I put one together earlier this year. And I really think that was one that saved me when I needed to kind of like reboot the show on a different platform, having a website. But two, this is the other thing, is building out an email list. We can talk about that here in a little bit, but yeah, there you go. Things to be aware of when you start podcasting. I hate to say it because I love music so much, guys, but yeah, you can't play music by other people in your show anymore. So.
Oh, that's awesome. Myself, I also like music a ton. So, in terms of like business, like who are some artists that you admire or like look up to, in terms of like their business blueprint and their business acumen?
One artist that stands out to me a ton, I find myself a little bit weird in this regard too, but I'm like just a huge electronic music fan. And I've seen a guy named Don Diablo in concert a couple times. I think at least twice. And I really like Don Diablo. He's a DJ based out of the Netherlands because his whole essence is like future. Like he's all about just the word future is like what's associated with his branding. And I kind of adopted that with Dream Chasers. I'll pull it up here. We've just got the
Yeah, I was
logo
gonna say
there.
that's kind of your a piece of your brand as well.
There it
Future
is.
thinking, yeah, interviews with the future thinker. So I can see it.
So musically speaking, a lot of electronic influence, and that's I think that was the main issue. Was I heard in like if there was any typical genre that was getting cracked down on the hardest, it was people who were DJing sets with electronic music on Spotify and other places that experienced what I had to go through. But anyway, shout out to Don Diablo. He's very futuristic with his vibes, and I've tried to implement that into the Adam Carswell brand as much as I can.
That's awesome.
I know you said Fetty Wap is from Patterson.
Yeah, Keith Bacote from Patterson. Yeah. Also, yes, I'm from Patterson, New Jersey. Born and raised, Patterson raised, huge advocate for the city, and the positive things going on there. So yeah, just give a quick shout out to Patterson and everyone from it.
Awesome.
So yes, so in terms of podcasting, how did it increase your personal brand when you're able in your how did it help with your ability to network with other people and different things like that?
The best part about podcasting is pretty much what you just said, which is the networking piece. And there's a great quote. I might get it a little bit messed up, but my mentor, Hunter Thompson, always says, "Look, this is the benefit of starting a podcast. If you start a show and you record 300 episodes and you get to a point." Hold on one second. You can just leave it at the door, please. We're live. You record a show and you look back on it. Say no one ever listened to any of your 300 episodes, and you're like, "Oh no, I can't believe I just wasted all that time." It's like, no, actually think about it. You did not waste your time because you just had 300 powerful conversations where you were exchanging information, likely with someone that you look up to. And yep, thank you. Okay, thank you. And so that's the thing about podcasting is it's a great way to continue your education, build out your brand, meet new people. And hey, you know what? If you get 2 downloads, at least you still got smarter at the end of the day and met some new people.
I like that, and I like that whole concept as well. Like you didn't waste your time with those 300 episodes because through that you were able to exchange information as well as learn new information. And every day you should seek to be learning. So that's 300 conversations where you got better as a communicator. Likely, you learned something new. And it brings you to a book called The Compound Effect. I don't know if you've read it by Darren Hardy. And
Yep.
That's just all about the very little steps that you need to take to be great. So though, like, I'm not sure if you did 300 interviews prior, but like say you did.
That was an example. I don't think I actually hit 300 yet, but we're working towards it.
Yeah, exactly. So like this would just make Dream Chasers that much better. So yeah, that's
good reference
so,
to Darren Hardy too.
Mm-hmm.
Good reference to Darren Hardy. I know I've had someone on Dream Chasers who worked on like promotional and marketing stuff for Darren Hardy. So I'll send that your way. Kyle Wilson. Shout out to Kyle Wilson.
Yeah, awesome. My mentor had recommended me that book, and I've read it three times since he recommended it. And each time I read it, I find out something new because we're at different stages in our
Mm.
lives, and it hits you a little bit differently. So that kind of brings me to my next question. The platform I'm launching is called Sedulous Sundays. So just a quick like little excerpt about that. Sedulous, that word, definition of that is of a person or action showing dedication and diligence. Diligence just means work ethic. Um, and Sundays it's spelled Daze as opposed to Days, because often we forget that Sunday starts the week as opposed to Monday. So with that being said, um, how do you spend your Sundays? What is your Sunday like?
Is that a question for me?
Yes,
Okay. All
like in
right.
terms of preparation for your
Yeah.
week and maybe even your podcast.
Yeah. Sundays are definitely. It's funny. I guess I never thought of it. I do believe that Sunday is the first day of the week, but I never actually thought of it that way. I think for me, what I enjoy doing on Sundays is working on like my craft. So I do actually tend to do a lot of like dream chasers on Sundays. There's another podcast that I host, the Nothing But Net podcast. I've done a lot of editing with that on Sundays. And then also a day to catch up on sleep and hey, hang out with my fiance and our little puppy
Yeah.
and really it is a reset button day, and it's kind of cool to think that it's the first day of the week. And now that you put it that way, because for me, I definitely think Sunday is a day where I am subconsciously getting prepared for Monday, which boom, there you go. That would mean that it is the first day of the week.
Yeah, exactly. And yeah, that's just the whole foundation of Sedulous Sundays. That Sunday is the beginning of the week, and it's not to say that it's not a rest day because, like growing up, that's what it always was for me. Like it's a day of rest, all that. That's fine. It's just be prepared. Like how do you be prepared and get proactive? So another book is Seven Habits of Highly Effective People, where I came up with that, and I try to take one thing from each book I read, and the thing that I took from that was to schedule out your weeks. And Sundays is the day that I do that. So it just helps me get ahead of the week and be proactive and plan correctly. So that's where the question comes from.
Love it.
And yeah, so it's just like kind of rethink your Sunday kind of thing. Like doesn't have to be. Everyone gets that feeling around 4 or 5 p.m. When the second set of football games are started. Like it's starting to get dark out. Like we got work tomorrow. But I feel a lot better when I plan and I have like there's 168 hours in the week and they're working for you or against you. It's all about how you use them. So that's where that stems from. And so, what are your thoughts on like planning and preparation in terms of dream chasers and also in your everyday life? Like take me through your interview process, like your planning process for that.
Yeah, the planning process for dream chasers is probably I used to be I'd say much more regimented about it. I would make sure that I would get, for example, the questions that I was going to ask over to the guest. I would define the topic and basically just get everything lined up at least a week or two before recording. And I think you just tend to get better at it as time goes on. Now, I am a firm believer, and I've seen it in action for myself. Like when somebody does a 15 to 30-minute pre-recording call with me, and then I come on their show later, that tends to be a recipe for a very successful interview. The tough thing is, like, I think especially as you get better and you start to want to bring higher profile guests onto your show, it's really going to be, unless you can say like, hey, you coming on my show is going to be 30,000 downloads. Like, let's do it. Unless like, if you can't say that, then sometimes you have to skip the pre-call and just set it up so that way, like, once you go live, like boom, that's it. And so what I mean by that is, like, I just interviewed someone earlier today who I sent you the sneak peek to that one. So go ahead and check that out. But we didn't plan out anything for the interview until like we got on the call. Now I set aside an hour of time and we only record for 20 minutes. So what that allows for is like plenty of time for us to have this type of conversation, plenty of time for us to kind of identify, okay, this is who we're speaking to today. This is the topic of the discussion, define the topic. And then, after going back and forth for about 15 minutes, we're comfortable. Then we start the recording. As I said, try to end it around 20 minutes. I like to keep definitely under a half hour if possible. It's just like my style for keeping the audience engaged. But then boom, then that kind of leaves you with an additional roughly 15 minutes in case you do have any technical difficulties. So if you're going to record a show that's 20 minutes ish long, that's my advice, just because that's what I've done. And I've had success with it. But yeah, that's my format, and I'm sure there's plenty of other ones out there. So it's up to you guys to how you want to do it.
Okay, yeah, definitely. This was impromptu, so I wrote down a few questions. This is actually the last one I have.
All good.
Have you been able to secure any like brand partnerships or sponsorships through your podcast? If so, which ones, if you're able to share, and how did you go about doing that?
Yeah, I can do a plug for one right now. So my current sponsor is a company that I do work with libertyfund.io, but they also have become a very valuable sponsor just because that was like the flagship. So now that I have been sponsored by them for the past, say, roughly, I don't know, 6 months or so, it's caught the attention of other companies. And so coming into 2021, I have a new sponsorship around the corner, and I think it's going to continue to snowball. So my advice really, and this is actually something I probably would have done sooner if I knew that I didn't really know whether or not I wanted to have ads or like make money in this way on the show, but now I'm starting to see it's probably the best way to go, just because it's like, it's almost kind of like, why not? Yeah. So especially if it's like companies and people that I'm like friends with, and I believe in what they're doing, they believe in what I'm doing. It's, in my opinion, leaving money and opportunity on the table. So what I'm getting at is, even if you're just getting started, as soon as you start finding a sponsor for your show, the quicker it will increase your credibility. And what you can do is like the bootstrap way. So it's just like reach out to someone in your network who's just looking to get like the name of their company out. And you can just be like, hey, I'm going to run ads for your company for 3 months or 6 months. Like, you don't have to pay me anything. If you get any traffic from me, great. But like, hey, I'm going to run ads for you. And anyone who's listening, like, they don't have to know that. Like, for all they know, that you just got paid $5,000 to put this company on your show. And so that's my advice, is like, start finding sponsors as soon as you can. And then I mentioned this earlier, building up an email list. You can get, again, super educated on how to run an email list just from going on YouTube and getting a free account with MailChimp. You want to start saving email addresses, because yeah, it's cool. You get people to subscribe to you on iTunes or Spotify or whatever. They'll get the notification, but like, nothing hits harder than an email notification about a new episode coming out. And that's really, as I mentioned earlier, that's kind of what like saved my show when I went through that funk where like it got locked up for a little bit. So that email list. Oh, and then the other cool thing about the email list is you can incorporate your sponsor into the email list. So then you can also go and say to anyone that you're looking at working with, you say, all right, so this is how many people are listening per episode. But then also, hey, look, I have an email list of 1,000 people. So that's like, I don't know how many people are going to open it, but like, your company is also going to go out to 1,000 people and be broadcasted. Yeah, those are like some little hacks there for sponsorship.
And I just thought of one last question. In terms of 2020, people were saying it's a year for clear vision and things like that quickly change given everything going on in the world. So I think it's all about perspective and how you look at it. I think it's a lot to be learned in 2020, and it gave us a chance to kind of reset and really think about what it is that we want. So I would just ask your biggest lesson from 2020, and maybe if you have set your goals for 2021, something you're looking to accomplish in 2021.
Yeah. And you know what, so what I'm looking to accomplish in 2021, definitely, I guess I'll answer that piece first, and then I'll just have you kind of restate the first question, because I think I might have missed it. But looking to accomplish coming into this year, specifically, we'll stick to the Dream Chasers too, because there's definitely a lot of fun in store for this year. I'm going to segue a little bit here. So Dream Chasers is what's given me the confidence to do what I'm about to talk about here, which is I will be producing at least one webinar per week, every week of the year in 2021. That's the way it's scheduled out right now. I booked all the way through the beginning of March, I believe, which is awesome. So I think I can do it. It's going to be a lot of work, but the reason why I'm transitioning to webinars, and you'll still get new Dream Chasers episodes coming out, and there's like different reasons for each one. So I definitely am going to keep Dream Chasers going, but the reason why I'm going to put so much energy into webinars now is because I'm starting to see you can make such a bigger impact with a webinar. You can educate more people. You can spread your message more. You just, there's just so many benefits that come with it. You can also, if you're looking to make sales or present an offer, you're going to have a much more likely chance of converting or making a sale on a live presentation on a webinar. And this is the cool thing about the webinar is your message can get sent out to the masses in 3 different ways. 1, to the live audience, 2, to the audience that watches the replay, and then 3, once you go back through the replay and repurpose bite-sized pieces of content from that replay, now you've got all this extra goodies that you can just be slinging out, making offers tied to the content. So what Russell Brunson, who's a profound leader in the industry of, I'd say, in marketing in general, has a theory that if you produce a webinar per week for a whole year, by the end of that year, you'll be financially free. And I definitely feel like I'm already living pretty free right now. Like to be able to just middle of the day have this conversation with you. I know if I was still working my own day job, I wouldn't be able to. So, but a different level of freedom, I think, is in store for this year because of that vision for the webinars, next level webinars. So keep in touch. Make sure wherever you're listening right now, subscribe, because that's where the webinar replays are definitely going to be on whatever channel you're watching Keith and I on here today.
Okay, awesome. And just my question for 2020, basically, were you still able to find, I'm guessing that vision for what you plan to do in 2021 came this year. So was it still the year for clear vision and like just one lesson you learned and one thing you learned? So.
Yeah, definitely feel like most people, we got blindsided with this year. But the best parts of it were certain things like, well, I feel like I've really learned firsthand. You've probably heard this narrative now too. It's like there's actually so much more opportunity going on right now than there has been in the past, because things are so like up, like when things are steady growth, for example. I heard this analogy, like if the market is steady or like slowly on an increase or slowly on the decline, like there's not a lot of places to create opportunity or find opportunity. When the market's like up and down and crazy and people like feel like they don't know what's going on, if you already have the mindset that you're going to find opportunities during a time like that, and then you just continue moving forward doing what you know you should be doing instead of being scared, you're going to attract all these cool things that you didn't expect. So 2020 has been a year of unexpected growth in the best way possible. I was going to go on a trip to Europe earlier this year that didn't work out. And I'd say the best part of that in retrospect was I ended up having to stay where I'm at, which ultimately led to me getting engaged. And so like there's all these different pieces that come into place. And it's just about, as you said, having the right mindset about it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and then think everything happens for a reason. So there's a reason you forgot a reason for not being able to go to Europe. So that's how it worked out. So definitely congratulations to you on that.
Thank you.
That was pretty much all I had. Should I plug in my social media, or how
Yeah.
do we do the end of the episodes?
That's what you got to do. Hook, story, and offer. So I'm not actually sure exactly what our hook was today. If you're tuned in here with us right now and you got value out of today, we're grateful for having you. The story was everything we just discussed, the little interview, and now the offer. Like this is it, Keith. So we got everyone's attention here. Where do you want the listeners and viewers to go to learn more about you?
Definitely go to Instagram. My personal page is at KeithyB, KeithyB with an underscore. And the upcoming page I have for creative content as well as interviews like we did today. So I feel really good about it. It's called Sedulous Sundays, and that's SPDULOUS_SUNDAZE. Don't get caught in the days on your Sunday. Focus on the 4 P's: positivity, proactivity, planning, and preparation, and you'll be in good shape for the week. So
Love it.
Thank you so much, Adam, for this opportunity.
Yeah, man. Get out there and just start creating as much as you can. I know early on, I think for everyone it's a little bit intimidating, but you get past it. Eventually, you get past the point where hitting record is just second nature. So, I know you got it, man. Go for it,
Appreciate that.
guys. Go follow Keith. All right. Remember, in all you think, say, and do, take it to the next level.